Have you ever thought about how a simple act of kindness, like a child writing a letter to a senior, could be more than just a sweet gesture? What if I told you a simple visit like this is actually backed by decades of research and it might just hold a key to building stronger, more connected communities? Let's dive in. It all starts with something as simple as this: a fill-in-the-blank line on a piece of paper written by a kid for a senior they don't even know. It seems so small, right? But this little opening, it leads to something way bigger than you'd think. So this letter, it's part of something called a Fall Blessing Package. A youth group, the Changemakers, is putting these together for the residents at the Crestview Court nursing home. The whole idea is just to bring a little bit of that autumn joy right to their doorstep. Now, what's inside is so simple, but it's really personal. You've got a handmade craft, a little coloring page, and of course, that super important handwritten letter. And pretty soon, the Changemakers are actually going to deliver these packages in person and meet the people they made them for, their grandfriends. And that moment, that's where this story gets really interesting. Okay, so obviously this is a wonderful thing to do. No question about it. But is there something deeper going on here? Could this simple visit be part of a much bigger idea, one with scientifically proven benefits for absolutely everyone involved? Well, the answer is a huge, resounding yes. Believe it or not, there's actually a formal name for this kind of project. It's called intergenerational practice. Now, I know it sounds a little academic, but the idea behind it is just beautifully simple. It's all about bringing different generations together on purpose. Here's the official definition from all the research, and there are two words here that are absolutely key: purposeful and mutually beneficial. This isn't just about kids putting on a show for seniors, It's about creating real activities where both groups can connect, learn from each other, and build genuine respect. And this is not some new fad. This whole idea started getting real traction way back in the 1970s in Japan. And today, it's a full-blown global movement. You see programs like this popping up in schools, community centers, and care homes all over the world because people are realizing just how special these connections are. So, what does the science actually say happens when you bring these groups together? Well, let's start with the impact it has on the seniors, or as the Changemakers call them, their grandfriends. One of the biggest benefits, and this is huge, is that it directly fights a major health crisis: senior loneliness. Being socially isolated can cause all sorts of physical and mental health issues, and these programs are an incredibly direct and honestly joyful way to combat that. And it's not just about having company, it's about the kind of energy kids bring, Their spontaneity, their creativity, their fun. It's a really powerful and unique antidote to feeling lonely. And get this, the data totally backs this up. One study found that residents were way more engaged during visits with students compared to their normal everyday activities. But what's really amazing is this: the positive effect was even stronger for residents with cognitive impairments. It's like the joy and the nonverbal connection can cut through everything else and reach them on a really deep emotional level. But remember what we said, this is a two-way street. The benefits for the kids, for our changemakers, are just as amazing, and honestly, they have the power to shape their entire lives. Maybe one of the most critical things that happens is that these interactions just shatter stereotypes about aging before they can even form. When a child has a real, positive, personal experience with an older adult, it completely changes how they see an entire generation. And that right there is the long game. This isn't just about one nice afternoon. It's about planting a seed of empathy and understanding that can grow with them for the rest of their lives. They learn to see seniors not as some vague category, but as unique people with amazing stories and wisdom to share. So we know these programs are a huge win-win. But what's the secret sauce? How do you make sure they actually work? Well, it turns out it's not quite as simple as just putting kids and seniors in the same room. Research points to a few key ingredients for success. The absolute best programs are all built on these 4 principles. First, everybody's treated as an equal. Second, the activities have a shared goal, so people are really working together. Third, the connection is personal, not just a quick hello. And finally, it has to be a genuinely fun and rewarding experience for everyone involved. Which, of course, brings us right back to where we started, the Changemakers and their Fall Blessing Packages, because now we can see their simple visit in a completely new light. So, this visit, it isn't just a delivery service. It's a moment of purposeful, mutually beneficial, science-backed connection. It's a chance to fight loneliness, to push back against ageism, and to build a stronger community, all through the simple act of sharing a handmade craft and a smile.
And that leaves you with a pretty powerful thought, doesn't it? In a world that so often feels fragmented and disconnected, maybe the most effective solutions aren't the complicated ones. Maybe the real answer is just finding more meaningful ways to connect with each other.